Your parents told you a massive lie when you were a child, when they said there was nothing hiding in the dark. If you are sitting alone right now, locking your doors and thinking you are safe, that is your biggest mistake. Today, I will reveal the secrets of the creatures history deliberately tried to erase. In 10 minutes, you'll understand exactly why we stopped talking about them. And after hearing the final name on this list, you won't be able to sleep tonight. If you see a firefly in your room tonight, don't make a wish. Run. Because in the jungles of Suriname, they know a terrifying truth. Some lights don't reveal the truth, they hide it. This is the Asema. By day, she's your neighbor, your friend, or even someone you trust. But when the sun sets, she doesn't just go to sleep. She peels off her human skin like a wetsuit and transforms into a ball of blue glowing light. You think a locked door keeps you safe? The Asema doesn't need a door. She flows through cracks, windows, and even keyholes. She's looking for one thing, a sleeping victim who is alone. She doesn't bite your neck like a movie vampire. She sits on your chest and drains your life force and blood until you are pale and weak. Most victims wake up feeling tired, never realizing they were almost drained dry. If you kill the light, the human dies. But if you find her empty skin and don't know the secret ritual to stop her, she will find you. And she won't stop until she finishes what she started. If you thought a small light was dangerous, wait until you hear about what's hanging in the trees right above your head. When you walk alone at night, evolution tells you to check behind you. You check the bushes, you check the shadows, but there is one place humans almost never check: straight up. Deep in the Ashanti folklore of West Africa hides the Asanbosam. It doesn't stalk you from the bushes, it waits in the canopy. A distorted humanoid with teeth made of solid iron and legs that don't end in feet, they end in hooks. Those hooks aren't for walking, they are for hanging, motionless, for days, weeks, or however long it takes. It doesn't chase its prey, it just listens to your breathing, waiting for you to walk exactly beneath it. And when the moment is right, it drops. You don't see it coming, and you don't fall to the ground. You are dragged straight up into the branches where the light cannot reach. There is no screaming, there is no struggle, just the silence of a monster feeding, and hunters who are later found hanging upside down, completely drained. If the forest canopy feels unsafe, wait until you hear the sound of the creature that tells you death is already walking right behind you. It is easy to avoid the dark forests. You can always just stay inside. But what happens when the very rooms we build to keep ourselves safe become the exact places these things choose to hide? Because the next creature doesn't wait in the trees, it is waiting right underneath your bed. We lock our doors to keep monsters outside, but what if the monster didn't have to break in? What if it's already waiting right underneath you? Zulu mythology, there is a creature of pure malice, the Ticoloche. A deformed, dwarf-like being, often summoned through dark rituals by your own enemies. It can even swallow a stone to turn completely invisible in your room. It doesn't kill you quickly. It feeds on your suffering. It hides under your bed. It pulls at your feet while you sleep. It watches. It waits for your fear to grow, because every time your heart races, it gets stronger. The fear of this creature is so intense that people literally raise their beds on heavy bricks just to stay out of its reach. But safety was never guaranteed. Because the Ticoloche isn't just bound by physical space, it is bound by belief. And the exact moment you start wondering if it might be under your bed, it already is. The Ticoloche might be small, but it torments you alone. In the freezing mountains, there is a tiny creature that doesn't just torment you, it brings its entire family for dinner. We are trained to fear giants. We look for massive footprints in the snow. But in the isolated peaks of the Rocky Mountains, the deadliest threat doesn't tower over you, it barely reaches your knees. According to Native American Shoshone legends, there is a violent race of miniature humanoids known as the Nimerigar. Do not mistake their size for weakness. They are territorial, heavily armed with poisoned weapons, and they never fight alone. They attack in swarms. But what makes them truly disturbing isn't how they look, it is what they do with you. If you wander into their territory, they don't kill you immediately. They take you alive, dragged back to their caves to be eaten slowly, piece by piece, over weeks. They were so brutal, they even practiced cannibalism on their own kind. And the scariest part? Explorers actually found tiny humanoid remains in those remote caves, making people wonder if the myth was actually history. Something doesn't need to be large to be dangerous. It only needs to be hungry and patient. But hunger isn't always about eating. Sometimes the creatures in the dark just want to hold on to you and drag you down to where no one can ever find you. We all know the terror of drowning, the panic of running out of air. But in the rural swamps of Poland, they fear something much worse: drowning and burning at the exact same time. This is the Beenic, a Slavic river spirit that doesn't hunt on land. It waits perfectly still beneath the murky surface of bogs and marshes. It doesn't chase. It waits for you to step into the water. When it strikes, it doesn't just pull you under. According to folklore, the Beenic secretes a dark, boiling, oily slime from its own body, covering its victims in scalding grease as they sink into the dark water. But the most disturbing part isn't how it kills you. It is why it covers you in that slime. Old legends suggest this grease isn't just a weapon, it is a cage. It makes the body so slick and the water so thick that your soul cannot escape your corpse. A symbolic imprisonment, where even death is not a release. And the river only keeps what it takes, forever. Beenic will drown you if you step into its territory. But the next creature doesn't need water. In fact, it doesn't even need a body. It only needs you to step into the light so it can steal what falls behind you. Next time you walk under a streetlight, look down. Your shadow might be following you, but are you absolutely sure it belongs to you? In deep Balkan and Slavic folklore, there is an entity known as the Devogenic. It doesn't walk like a human. It doesn't crawl like a beast. It simply attaches itself to you, not as a physical body, but as a second shadow, one that does not move correctly. At first, you won't notice anything wrong, but over time, strange things begin to happen. Your reflection lags a fraction of a second behind your movements. Your shadow shifts in directions that make absolutely no sense against the light. The Devogenic feeds on your ignorance. It mimics you perfectly. It learns how you walk, how you speak, how you smile, until the terrifying moment comes when the real you is no longer needed. People don't die, they just disappear, and only the shadow remains, smiling normally, living normally, but it isn't them anymore. It is the thing that learned to be them. But a shadow only steals your identity. What happens when a creature doesn't want your life, but wants the physical organs right out of your chest? Most monsters have claws. Most monsters have fangs. But the most visually disturbing creature in folklore doesn't even have a body. From the dark mythology of Malaysia comes the Penanggalan. By day, she is a normal woman, but at night, her head rips itself from its shoulders and takes flight. Attached beneath it are her own glowing, trailing organs. It glides silently through the night air, looking to enter open windows. It doesn't hunt men. It hunts the most vulnerable targets imaginable: pregnant women and newborn children. Using an elongated, invisible tongue, it drains them in their sleep, leaving behind unexplained sickness or death. But humans learned how to fight back. Villagers scatter sharp thorns around their windows to catch and shred its dangling intestines. And before the sun rises, the creature must soak its swollen organs in vinegar just to shrink them enough to fit back inside its empty human shell. If you ever find its abandoned body, just flip it over. When the head returns, it won't be able to reattach correctly, and when the sun touches it, it burns. The Penanggalan is a nightmare made of flesh and blood. But what if the monster doesn't want your blood? What if it just wants to completely erase your reality? If you are ever lost in the woods and find footprints leading towards safety, do not follow them. Because you might not be walking out of the forest, you might be walking straight into a trap. Deep in Dominican folklore lives the Siguapa. At first glance, she appears as a beautiful woman hiding in the dense jungle. But her feet are reversed, facing entirely backward. And that isn't a physical deformity, it is a hunting mechanism. The Siguapa doesn't attack you physically, she attacks your grip on reality. Trackers follow her footprints only to realize they are walking deeper into the wild. You walk in circles. You hear familiar voices that aren't real. She disorients your senses until you can no longer trust your own mind. But the most terrifying rule of the Siguapa is this: never look her in the eyes. If you make eye contact, the folklore says you are permanently bewitched. Your memory is erased, and when you finally realize you are lost, your mind is already gone. In her territory, certainty is an illusion. But there are things worse than losing your mind in the woods. There are things that know exactly who you are, exactly where you are, and they only show up to tell you that your time is up. Dogs are supposed to be our protectors, but in the foggy crossroads of England, seeing a dog at night doesn't mean you are safe. It means your time is officially up. This is the Black Shuck, a massive shadowy hound that stalks the coastlines and graveyards of East Anglia. It doesn't act like an animal. It doesn't hunt. It doesn't bark. It simply walks in absolute, unnatural silence. And this isn't just an old myth. In 1577, accounts say it burst through the doors of a church in Blytheburg during a storm, killing those inside. If you go to that church today, you can still see the deep scorch marks from its claws burned into the wood. But the most chilling aspect of the Black Shuck isn't how it looks. It is what happens after it leaves. It is an omen. Encountering it means death is coming. Not always for you. Sometimes it takes a family member. Some say it is a warning. Others say it is an escort, guiding souls from one place to another. But no one ever agrees on which, because those who see it rarely live long enough to tell the difference. Every culture, every continent, every generation has these stories. They survived because people remembered what it felt like to be truly afraid. Fear doesn't disappear just because you stop believing in it. It waits, quietly, just outside your perception. So if you are alone tonight and you hear something moving in the dark, which of these creatures will you pray it isn't? And more importantly, will you have the courage to check?